the market is down, and I believe majority of you guys won't be happy. I know that. But understand the fundamentals are super strong and it's getting stronger every day. This is not old, this is recent one. And look at where it's being mentioned and what's the talk about, right? It's super strong. Look at this one. There's another one. You guys go through the fundamentals and it's superb. It's increasing. Look at where it's actually being mentioned. We've talked about this for a very long time, 2 years, right? And that's how things evolve. It's slow. Financial world, it's slow. But the economic outlook right now doesn't actually look any good. If you remember, the market is down, fine, and at the same time we've discussed this before. Look at Dow Jones, look at S&P 500, Nasdaq. We've talked about all this dropping, right? So now you come back to look at them and you're like, okay, it's dropping. So that's S&P 500 for you. We've talked about that. Then as we were discussing, yes, from that resistance, it got rejected. Now it's going towards the support. So if it's breaking lower, that's going to be bad. Here on Dow Jones, you're actually getting this around the top. Now it can be a cup and handle, so there can be a bounce too, but you still have downside. So you go look at the dollar and you're like, okay, that's happening. Dollar is strengthening. I've spent a lot of time in this in last couple of months highlighting that dollar is becoming strong, and for a lot of other currencies this is not going to be good. So you go look at stock market. This is Apple. I've told you, right? We are going to come back, and this is rising wedge, which is a bearish pattern. So now you're like, why am I talking too much about the stock market? Because a lot of investors have 5% in crypto, max 10% in crypto, big guys, and the rest in stock market, in index fund, in commodities. So when there is a huge drop in the stock market, that's like 40-50% of their portfolio going down, there are margin calls coming. They need something from some place to take the profit or take small loss and move it here. If they are buying crypto from last 2-3 years, they're already in profit or they are not losing value. So they're going to take this out and put it there, and I think that's happening. Look at Tesla. We've talked about this at the top, right? Most likely we are going to drop, and look at this. We haven't reached the bottom yet, but we are still coming down. Look at Netflix. Now I'm like, okay, that was a good call, because when I'm looking at this, yes, we told there is a 50% drop possibility if we break this lower. Look at where we are right now. We are coming down. Now we haven't reached 165 yet, but we are on the road to there. Look at the selling volume. Compare it with all these years, right? 2018, 2019, 2020. And you're like, that's a massive sell volume coming in here. And that's something big changing, right? Last 2, 3, 4 years, we didn't get this amount of sell volume. But right now, it's happening. So when you look at the dollar going strong, one of the stuff which you have to keep in mind is if dollar is going to break through this level, it's like, dollar haven't been in that territory for a long time. You're going back to that 2002 scenario. Dollar getting super strong, right? So that's like 20 years back. In this 20 years, there's been a lot of change. The world is now drowning in debt, most of them denominated in dollar terms. So you just got that understanding, okay, now a lot of countries has to pay back in dollars. What does that actually mean for us in crypto, right? We are here in crypto, the new world. But there's a lot of stuff which is going to impact you. And I'm going to discuss through this. The times are changing, but if you understand that, you are going to take advantage of the market, right? Yes, you should be. Otherwise, you are going to get wiped out. Now, we do think that there is going to be a lot of volatility, and understand this. Investing is not easy, and it's not meant to be easy, and it's never been fair, right? So if you want to get the odds on your side, it's a lot of hard work and it's going to take time. Welcome to the Scientific investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. Now, we've been talking about this, right? There is a possibility that there's a huge short. We looked at the shorts for Ether, XRP, and we talked about that. Shorts are increasing for Ether. We talked about that, right? And then you look at others like, okay, there is a possibility there's a financial crash coming. Don't get wiped out. Do these stuff, right? Like 2 weeks back, 3 weeks back, we were talking about XRP, taking a little bit from the XRP and trying to find something. Now, there's a reason one when we were going to this side and, getting that buying. And I'm like, okay, yeah, 0.63 seems to be attracting buyers. That's good. But to confirm that we are going back up, you need a trend reversal. You need to go above this moving average. But what happened? Can see we went back to the moving average, but we got rejected. Where are we right now? We're going lower to 0.63 range. Now, if that support doesn't hold, it's going to be blood in the streets. I don't like it. You most likely don't like it, but that's how things are going to be, and I think this is going to continue. If you have seen this, we posted this like 3-4 days back, where we discussed like, okay, there is a possibility that this is a double top, and if you are breaking through this, we are going to come lower, and these would be your support, because the RSI was showing that we are already breaking to the downside. We retested, we are failing, we are going back down. So now when you observe the price, this is the reality. Good. RSI is holding, it's in that falling wedge, but the price is not, right? Look at the price. Yes, you have a ton of fundamentals evolving in this sector, payments, that technology, everything is great, but the price is not. So if you are following the candle close, you're kind of going like this and then extending, and you get another candle close here, wick here, kind of, you broke through that, you went back, you retested the moving average and the support, which was turned into a resistance, and you got rejected. Then you formed another double top and you're going back lower. That is not good. So while you break this trend line, now if you really break that one, this is the bottom of the wick here, then this is the bottom of the wick here. You just extend that one, and that is not looking good. Now, if you're a long-term guy, you're like, okay, I'm going to spend next 3 to 5 years in this, because I understand that this is the reality. It's not coming from, a junk media. You go look at what they are talking about, what the macro perspective is. This is coming from University of California. You can actually see like a lot of guys are spending a ton of time and effort in studying this market and how things are evolving. The same here. You go to the top and you are like, okay, this is Asian economic papers. These are researchers who have been in this for a long period of time, and they know what they're talking about. And they put ton of stuff here. They go through all the probability, what the CBDCs are, how it's going to evolve. And that's where you actually get this. They talk about this. So the fundamentals are super strong, but if you are not liquid, it's going to be hard. That's why we've talked about this, right? The market can be irrational for a long period of time. And it's important as an investor for you and me to understand that and stay prepared. So now, as we look at this, we need to follow one step, which is the resistance. Fine, we've seen, okay, if we drop this, now don't just think, okay, we are going to 0.4 right now, because if you look at that, what I've just shown is trend line. It's trend based indicator, right? Now we look at the support resistance, the normal price action, where buyers are entering, sellers are, moving out, that kind of stuff. This area is the key. So 0.5 towards 0.65 is an important zone where we need buyers to come in, or at least we need sellers to go out. What do I mean by that? You zoom in and look at this. Yes, we are having selling volume, but it's reducing slowly. We don't want that to increase, and if it is reducing slowly, sellers are getting exhausted. Now that's a weekly chart. If you want to get more clarity, reduce the noise, can go onto a 3-day chart. You can go onto a daily chart and look like, okay, what's the trend like? What's the average like? Okay, so here you go. This is your first stop, 0.9. You're slowing down, the sellers are going in, and this is the trend which you are absorbing there, right? Okay, fine. I've seen the chart and I absorbed like it's dropping. I agree, but right now, recently, last 2 days, we're spiking and we don't really want to go above this. We really want to stay here. We really want to go lower in the volume, meaning the selling volume, or we need to see an increase in buying volume. If we are not going to get that, it's going to be dirty. We are going to go lower. But most likely, now I can be wrong, but this is my thought process here. Most likely, I think we are going to hold the 0.5, which was the previous low. Even if there is a wick low, it would be like this. You go low and you come back up. Why? We have been staying above this territory for a very long time now, almost a year. Then, if you just zoom out on a monthly chart, this is the scenario. You are above the 50-day moving average on a monthly chart. That's important. But the negative stuff there is you are getting a MACD cross to the downside on a monthly chart. You're still going to the downside. The MACD volume is on the downside. So a consolidation is still possible. But the macro market, now one of the reasons I say this is the macro market, it shows you like you can really have the microwave 1, 2, 3 in the wave 1 and then correct lower like 80%, spend all this time there and then go back up. Now, while you observe these, there are a lot of other assets showing similar structure, right? We've talked about that all through the Patreon, right? The members, we've been doing that. Now, when we were getting this, okay, that was a fake out of bearish breakout, fine, but we need to really cross above the 100-day moving average. If not, we're going to come back lower, right? The buying volume is increasing, MACD is bullish, all of that. But if we are not going above the 100-day moving average, sellers are still going to come in. And that's one of the reasons why we are talking like this. If you observe this, there is one pattern. Now, I'm talking about the positive stuff in the market, right? What can we really look in the market and say, okay, that's positive. This is one of that stuff. Stay with me on this. You come lower, you have a wick here. Now, this is a wick on a 3-day chart. You got a candle going lower and immediately the next candle going up. Now, that bounce from the support goes towards the moving average. Then it gets rejected. Now, the rejection candle looks bad, right? It's like an engulfing candle for all these candles. Fine. Then you again go back up, break through that moving average. Fine. The next one, you make a double top, you go all the way lower. Then from the bottom, the support, you get a long wick, something like this, and you bounce towards the moving average. You get rejected again. Then the next one, you go above the moving average, boom. Now again, here if you're looking at the top, you get something like this. The double top signal, you go lower. At the support, you are getting a bounce. Now, the only confusion here for me is that whether this one is this support testing or it's this one. Because here, you did not actually break through this support to make that wick like this. Whereas here, if we get a candle close or the next candle, daily candle, going back up, that's a wick on a 3-day. You get that clearly. If not, say this is the test of the support, you get bounced and you're going to the moving average, you try to break that, but nah. Bears came in or bulls were kicked out and you went all the way back down and now you're breaking through the support. If that's the case, you're going to go lower and that's what RSI is suggesting you. Now, if you go look at what we were talking about, the ether, you knew that, okay, we were talking about, okay, if we're going to break this support, we're going to go towards this range. Now, if you're looking at ether, it's there. We broke that one. Okay, fine. Then we got a wick. Immediately, we went back in. But the moving average is just coming lower, pushing you down. The price is now coming to the support level 1. If it doesn't hold, you're going even lower. But if it's holding, you're going to go back. But again, the moving average is going to be key here. You need to bounce above the moving average. If not, you're going to get rejected again. Now, the overall scenario for the altcoin market looks like this. You are still inside this pattern. You haven't actually gone above or below this particular pattern. You're still inside this. Fine. So, which actually take us back all the way into this thought process. Okay, as a market, the macro structure, you go to a weekly, monthly, it's all up to you and your time horizon, but you kind of get this structure. Okay, fine, I do understand that on a weekly you're like this, you're spending your time inside this pattern. So if you drop, you do have a possibility that you're going to come lower like this. If not, you're going to bounce. But that's the market. We don't know how it's going to react and what's going to happen. So we go back in time to see what's happening here. Here, as the market dropped to the support and the moving average, you can see the volume dropping sharply. Right, now you come back to the current scenario after the test of the all-time high. You are going back to the support and the moving average, and you can observe that the volume is dropping. So whether it's selling volume or buying volume, you need to observe well. If it's selling volume, it should go down. If it's buying volume, it should increase. That's what we are going to do. So now we can actually see that the buying volume is slowing down, but intermediately whenever the buyers come, it's increasing. Here, yes, sellers are also increasing, but after that, sellers are going down. So it's kind of that point where sellers and buyers are not increasing. The market is in an accumulation stage. You have put a lot of time, but understand you always take more time. Here for the bull run to the upside, it took like 177 days, but for the correction, it took 210 days. In general, now you can pause the video and look through this, but in general, you really have the market structure playing out like this. Those who have patience is going to get through this one at least before they go into this level of consolidation and wave 3, or else you're going to get out of the market somewhere close to this bottom. Now, it's not just one asset showing you this, right? It's a lot of different assets showing you that there is a possibility that this market is going to hold. Say if you go look at last 24 hours, you're going to actually observe like, okay, KNC is holding. We had a breakout call, we are in this. Now, the general market as a whole is down. Only few are holding, right? So if the market is going to recover, it's going to bounce, then these coins which are holding right now, they're going to skyrocket. So you go look at the news, you go look at the pattern and trend, and if they're holding right now with the news and Bitcoin slows down at the bottom near the support and slowly start to come back up, these coins are going to take off. That's what we usually call an altcoin season. Why? Because now you're looking at the Bitcoin dominance, right? You can go look at this. This is the altcoin market, but when you go into the Bitcoin dominant side, now if you remember, we are waiting on this particular pattern from a long time now. We need to break this to the upside or to the downside. We're still here, and most likely with this amount of volume coming in, we are going to break to the upside. But this selling pressure has not been completely neutralized. Yes, buyers came in, but the sellers, they sold too much. So considering that, you should go down. Now that's really confusing, right? You see the market doing a lot of different stuff, but if you go to the moving average and it's getting rejected again, yeah, most likely you're going to go lower. So you're keeping your eyes on 39. If it's breaking down, okay, that's a good sign for the altcoins. They're going to start running. Now, what the Bitcoin maxis or those who don't understand or look at is this. Now, I'm not making this up, right? It's there from 2013. You look at the trend. Bitcoin dominance is not increasing. It's trending lower every time. This is the first capitulation range and the next one starting here. So, yes, if you observe this correctly, you are looking like, okay, yes, during last consolidation, after the drop, you went higher. You had this retracement where your moving average was really high. But here, no, your moving average is closer. You're getting through that. And if you're being rejected from that moving average, what are you going to see? Boom, another drop like this, right? So when we talk about that, understand again, if you are getting rejected, this is what you are observing, and that's another bull market day. Now you get the third one, which is the wave 3 for the altcoin market, but wave 2 is what you're waiting for. So you go back in history, look at the volume and how things are changing. you won't be surprised by what's coming. Now, patience is the hardest part, and patience is the hardest thing in investing. If you mastered that skill, you're going to make profit. If not, it's going to be super hard. So guys, if you received value, please do hit that like and subscribe button. That supports the channel a lot. We try to share information which is going to help you and make you a better investor. If you want these kind of updates on real time for different assets in your portfolio, you can hit me up in Patreon. The link is given in the description below, where we can have one-on-one discussion about your portfolio and whether how you think it is now and what do I think about that structure, whether it's fully balanced, whether it's fully fundamental, whether it's completely risky. All of that can be discussed and rebalanced. So guys, I'll meet you on the next video. Bye for now.